We're going to be talking about the Republican debate that happened this week in the fireworks between Mitt Romney and John McCain.
How many people were at that debate?
4.
No, 2. Okay, yeah, technically Huckabee and Paul were there. I did see them sitting there. But really, the camera, every time they were zooming in, it was always Huckabee and Romney, all next to each other.
McCain and Romney.
McCain and Romney next to each other.
Well,
and they did let the other two guys talk a little bit.
Yeah, but like the other two didn't really matter, did they?
Not really. I mean, they're being dismissed.
Unless somehow, you know, Paul's not going to do anything, so I'm not worried about Paul.
Unless they win,
Huckabee can win the South
Super Tuesday.
On Super Tuesday, there's no, you know, it really is between Romney and McCain. But
here's the interesting thing: if Huckabee and Paul, Huckabee especially, were to drop out before Super Tuesday, Mitt Romney would win almost every single contest, because Huckabee does not take votes away from McCain.
No.
He takes votes away from Romney.
I think logically that makes sense. Unfortunately, for those of you out there, the debate was very contentious. And you know what? I'd like you to share with our viewers here the comment you shared with me after watching that debate on your reaction to how they treated each other. I laughed.
Okay, so we do know Romney's kind of a flip-flopper and blah, blah, blah. But he's, you know, he at least kind of... Anyways, McCain came off as kind of a prick. I mean, I was watching the part where he was going on and on about timetables. Timetable was the buzzword. Timetables. He was mumbling over everyone. Timetables, timetables, timetables. McCain said, Romney said timetables. Romney said timetables. Romney agreed with the Democrats on time. This is exactly what he's doing. Keep going, try it again. Go on, talk.
Anyway,
no. Romney was saying timetables. You said timetables. Timetables was the buzzword. Timetables was the buzzword. And he just went on and on and on. And he was doing it really rude and arrogant.
He acted like he had already won and he was God and he knew it.
Very smug. And I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, I agree. I did have that feeling, and it was interesting to watch the reaction on CNN after the debate, and then turn into MSNBC to see their reaction. Like, everybody thought that he did a good job, McCain did a good job, but they also said that he rambled to make points, and that his arrogance did come off wrong. And let me point out that the day after the debate, you had Ann Coulter, who said, "I will campaign for Hillary Clinton if John McCain is our nominee." Then you had Sean Hannity endorse Romney. You had Rick Santorum, the former senator from Pennsylvania, endorse Mitt Romney because they don't really consider McCain a true conservative. And more importantly, the Drudge Report this week came out with...
It was on Thursday, I think.
No, it was Friday. It was on Friday.
It came out Friday?
I believe it came out Friday.
It came out Thursday or Friday?
Thursday or Friday this week. And they had an article about how back in 2001, McCain almost left the Republican Party. Not to become a Democrat, but to become an independent.
He met with Harry Reid.
Right, he met with Harry Reid and Tom Daschle, who was the majority... Or the
majority whip
minority. Actually, they were the minority at the time.
Do they call it a whip? Do they call it a whip back then?
Minority leader. It was, and this one it's minority leader or majority leader. Because they had a tie at the time, and of course, the vice president was the tiebreaker, so the Republicans had the majority. If they got the one, which they did with Jeffords from Vermont, then it would flip. Well, the Democrats were courting 3 Republicans, and John McCain was one of them. But the interesting thing was about John McCain is that we find out that the other two Republicans, the Democrats went to. John McCain had somebody on his staff go to one of the staffers of the Democrats and ask, "Why aren't you coming and asking me to join?" And it was interesting that the Republicans, the conservative Republicans, don't really consider McCain a true conservative. That's why a lot of them are now backing Romney. I still don't think Romney's going to win. I think it's going to be a McCain-Clinton matchup in the end. But it's interesting to note that I think to a lot of people, the debate turned off a lot of conservatives towards McCain because of his arrogance and his
prickishness.
That's a good word to use.
I made that up. Oh, I should copyright that.
And I also think that there are going to be a lot of people who share the same religious beliefs or Jack Mormons, whatever you want to call them, that support Romney, who are sick and tired of the Republican field really ripping on Romney and his religion. I mean, you start out with Huckabee, and then McCain is just being a complete jerk to him. I know that a friend of mine told me that on a radio station in Utah this last week, a Republican called a local radio station and said, you know what, I really don't like how my party is treating Mitt Romney. You know, I think he would make a great vice president to Barack Obama, and I would support Barack. And it was really interesting that people of his faith are really, really objecting to how McCain and the whole field is treating Romney. Whether or not that you agree with that, that's how they're reacting. And I think that if Barack won the Democratic primary, it could go a long way to help win states in the West that Hillary couldn't win, and that the Democrats haven't won since FDR.
Yes. No, well, don't forget Huckabee and Paul. I think I wasn't able to watch the entire debate all the way through, unfortunately. But I do recall the one time I saw Huckabee speak was when he butted in and said, "Hey, how come I'm not getting any time?" And he talked about how he wasn't getting to talk. And it's
a good use of time, right? To just talk about
excellent use of time is to talk about not getting to talk. And I think that's kind of like his campaign is going to go like this.
You know, Ron Paul used to do that too. If you remember back in some of the earlier debates, he used to say that all the time. Like, you know, it would be nice to have free, equal time to everybody else. So it's interesting
that's when there were like 25 Republicans trying to.
But he's never got enough time. But it's funny that Republicans. Thompson did this in earlier debates.
Yeah, he did get a really good bump from, I think it was a Newsweek blogger, and he was pointing out how Paul was the only guy that didn't sound like a dork up there, because they were talking about it was when McCain and Romney were arguing about whether they both wanted to go into Iraq and whether they both wanted to stay there, and whether they wanted timetables and so on and so forth.
Trying to out conservative
the
other person.
And they spent, I don't know, a good chunk of time. It wasn't like a couple of minutes. It was a decent chunk of time where they were talking about this. And then finally, when Paul got to talk, he said that this is silly because, or they're arguing. I think the word he used was they're arguing semantics, where they're essentially saying I want to go into Iraq. No, I wanted to go into Iraq. Well, I don't want a timetable. No, I don't want a timetable. And that's all they're doing is arguing about who
wants a timetable,
who was whiter,
or who wants it less. Yeah, who wants. Who's more hawkish?
They were like us arguing about which one's more Caucasian. Right. I'm more Caucasian than you, and Sarah, what the?
I'm growing a beard, so you're more white. It's a silly argument.
Paul pointed out that was silly and a waste of time. They should have been talking about issues like whether or not we should even be there, what our foreign policies and our relations should be with other nations, and so on and so forth. They weren't really debating any of the issues. They were debating about who was more Republican than the other one. That's all they were doing.
I think because they were debating it that way, that's in McCain's favor. I really do. I feel that McCain knows that the big hot topic right now is the economy. We lost 17,000 jobs in December in the United States. The big issue that's affecting most people is the economy, but that's not a strong point. So he needed to change the topic, and I think he did an extremely good job.
Yeah. On the economy, yes. Romney wins by far. On wanting to go to war, McCain wins.
Right, and McCain wins on leadership because McCain was in the military and he led many people, and so he did an excellent job of changing the subject. Now, you could argue, as we were talking about earlier, did he do it in the fashion that was proper and that didn't alienate people? I think he alienated people. I think he alienated normal people. McCain used to be the straight talk express, the person that could bring independence. Well, people like me who used to support McCain no longer do. This is one of the reasons he himself has flip flopped.
No.
Yeah, like most politicians. But on top of that, his candor of working across the aisle and to working with people has reared its ugly head that he can't. And in fact, we know that he has a temper, and I think that his debate this last week proves that he's just pandering to the base to win.